to lift one cry from north to south.
So as I mentioned earlier, we are in the Gospel of Mark, and the kids' talk and the illustration we'll do here in a couple minutes is really about what this message is about. If we think backwards the last few weeks, for sure, but really a lot of the entire book of Mark, we find Jesus in conflict with the powers of his day. We find him coming up against religious people. Okay? These are people that believe in God, but they don't believe in Jesus. What John wrote about. Okay? Over and over, they are after him. And we'll see in this story today that they are setting a trap for Jesus. Last week or a couple weeks ago, they came to Jesus and said, "What do you think about John the Baptist?" Which was a trap. They were trying to get him. And because they knew that John the Baptist was popular with people, but they also knew they could trap Jesus by his answer, or they thought they could. So Jesus says, I'm going to ask you a question. And he turns the question back to them. And they say, well, we really don't know. We don't know about John the Baptist. We don't know if he's a man of God, or we don't know if he's a fake. And Jesus replied, then neither will I tell you. Okay? So he's playing their game with them in this battle or this conflict. And today is another one of those. I've entitled this message today, that death and taxes. You've heard that phrase before. There are only two sure things in life, death and taxes. Both of those will happen. And we see really both of these ideas in the story today. Taxes on the surface of Rome's occupying Israel, and their thumb on them really, the political scene, the political realm, and death in that Jesus is dealing with people who say they believe in God, but they reject God's Savior, which leads to death. Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. Lots of people believe in God, but when you begin talking about Jesus, the mood in the room changes. It's just different. Okay? Jesus told us that. 2,000 years ago, he told us it would be like that. And that's what's beginning to happen once again. Now, just for getting our bearings, we're in Mark 12, and we're going to be in verses 13 through 17. So 5 short verses. The New International Version of the Bible gives us a summary heading of this passage, paying the imperial tax to Caesar. Okay? So we're going to read this. I'm going to take it in a couple parts, different steps, one illustration in the middle, and then we're going to try to tie it together at the end with an application for our own life. Okay? Later, okay, so this is after these previous confrontations. Later, they sent, now I'm not sure who the they is, but what it tells me is this is not a coincidence. This is planned. This is thought out. This is a scheme. Later, they sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to Jesus to catch him in his words. So that's what's going to happen, and we're going to read about it. This is a plan with Jesus as the target. Now, the Pharisees, we know who they are. They're the religious leaders of Israel. Very educated, very powerful, very religious. They had a high status in their community. They were well respected, and they liked it that way. Jesus is a popular prophet. He's a savior. They don't see him that way, but he's a teacher that is drawing now the crowds away from the Pharisees to him. And they don't like it. Okay? The Herodians were also Jewish, but that was a political group. Okay? They were the followers of previous King Herod when Jesus was born and tried to kill him. But now it's one of his sons who is ruling. They have this chummy agreement with Rome that their family can be king. They can be king of Israel. But really Rome and Caesar calls the shot. So they are Jews that have betrayed their own people and are in bed with Rome. That affords them a protection, that affords them a high status in the class. It affords them wealth. It affords them influence and pleasures that regular people don't have. They're a political group, and the Pharisees are the religious group. Now, they don't agree on anything. The Pharisees see these people as hypocrites. And, the Herodians see the religious people as really kind of in the way of all their fun. But they have come together with a common enemy, Jesus. In fact, if you go back to Mark chapter 3, this has been the theme all the way through this story. In Mark chapter 3, Jesus heals a man in the synagogue who has a withered hand. And at the end of that story, it reads that the Herodians and the Pharisees, they got together to plan how they would get rid of Jesus. This has been going on for 3 years. We get to chapter 12 through 16. That's about 2 weeks. So 1 through 11 is about 3 years of Jesus' ministry. And now the last 2 weeks, the last week or so, is chapters 12. That's where we are. They sent the Pharisees and the Herodians to trap him. Now, the Greek word translated in the NIV as catch. Those of you that are reading out of the ESV, doesn't it say trap? Yep. Okay. That Greek word appears one time in the Bible. It's the only place that Mark uses it. He's the only one that uses it. And it's a Greek word, agruo. The transliteration is A-G-R-E-U-O, agruo. And it literally means to hunt, to catch. They sent some of the Pharisees and Herodians to Jesus to catch him in his words. They came to him and said, "Teacher, we know that you're a man of integrity. You aren't swayed by others because you pay no attention to who they are, but you teach the way of God in accordance with the truth. Is it right to pay the imperial tax to Caesar or not? Should we pay or shouldn't we?" The previous traps they set for Jesus, he was too smart for them. He saw the trap and he avoided it. They think they've got one that will catch him this time because it's a simple yes or no. Really, all he can do is say, yes, you need to pay the tax to Caesar, thereby disenfranchising and upsetting the common people of the day because they hated Rome. Or, no, don't pay the tax. And then the religious people had grounds to go to Rome and say, he's a rebel. He claims to be a king. He says, don't pay your taxes to Caesar. He's trying to overthrow Caesar and get him arrested. They'll get rid of him that way. They've set this trap, and they say, should we pay tax to Rome or not? And they wait. But Jesus knew their hypocrisy. He knew they believed in God, but they didn't believe in him. They did not believe and trust in God's provided Savior. It's not unlike our culture today. Lots of people believe in God, but not as many follow Christ with every beat of their heart. So he asked, bring me a denarius, and let me look at it. Now, a denarius was a Roman coin that had Tiberius Caesar on one side of it, and on the other side it had an inscription with his name that basically says, Caesar is Lord. So he asked for one of these coins, and someone, I guess, brings him one of them. And he says, whose image is this? And whose inscription? And the people naturally replied, Caesar's. So he's making an illustration to them as an answer to the question, should we pay or should we not? And so he's saying, here's a coin. Whose picture's on this coin? Who is that? Of course, there was only one thing they could say. It's Caesar. And Jesus says to them, give to Caesar what belongs to him, but give to God what belongs to him. An older translation that you may be more familiar with is, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, but render unto God that which is his. So he's telling them, he's answering their question, but not in the way they wanted. And he's putting this dichotomy in place again. We live in a political world, and sometimes the politics of this world, the fashion or the trendiness, the popularity, the pop culture of this world, the goals of what the world says is success, money, a bigger house, a bigger boat, more acres. Maybe success is another degree or letters after your name. We live in this dichotomy of this world that says this is good, this is success, this is life. And yet there's the spiritual part. And you'll find that that doesn't really satisfy forever. There's still an emptiness. You read about this. You read about people, some of the easiest ones to kind of find stories about are, really, really successful musicians, rock artists or bands. And they have it all. I mean, they tell these stories. Oh, it's almost stereotypical. It's the same story. We had everything. We had money. We had girls. We had drugs. We had pleasure. We traveled the world. We did everything. And yet, I was unhappy. I was dying on the inside. It was horrible. That's this picture of, the dichotomy that Jesus presents to us. So he says, give to Caesar what's his. But there's this other part of life. It's about love and grace. It's about being content. It's about peace. It's about hope. He says, those things are of God. And seek those things. Now, as we close today, I want to focus on the last sentence. And they were amazed at him. Why were they amazed at Jesus? He didn't do a miracle. He didn't raise somebody from the dead, or a blind person could see. Now, he's done those. He's just talking to them. He's telling a story. And who is it that's amazed? Are you amazed by the things of God? The popular phrase nowadays is awesome. That concert was awesome. That spaghetti was awesome. But if you think about that word, it's something that happens to us that we kind of stand in awe. It's like, wow. What is it that wows you? That causes you to think or maybe even say, awesome? Does it stir your heart in a worship service where people come to the front and they public, in a scary kind of way, it's a little nerve-wracking. They come to the front and they say, I want to publicly state I'm following Jesus. And they get in the water and they're baptized. That's awesome. That deserves our awe. Because that's some of the untangible that you can't measure. That's some of the invisible miracle that happens to us. So I want to challenge you today. What is it in life that gives you awe? Or, as this phrase was, it amazed them. They were amazed at Jesus. Maybe his intelligence, maybe his cleverness. Maybe they were just like, you guys have been trying to trap him, and once again, pow, he hit it out of the park. You can't get him. He is way above you. Maybe they were amazed at how fearless he was. These people controlled the nation. These people had influence with Tiberius Caesar in Rome, who was the world dominant power. And yet Jesus did not back down. He did not shy away. He did not flinch. He wasn't even nervous. If Justin would have handed me that loaded trap, that set trap, and told me to push Jesus, none of these people made him nervous. He was not afraid. He was in control. Maybe it was his teaching that once again he just flipped the tables on them. Jesus did that twice. He went to the synagogue and he flipped the tables of the money changers. Well, he's doing it spiritually. He's doing it with his words now. He's just flipping over the tables. Give to Caesar what's his, but give to God what's his. And they were amazed. So what is it that amazes you? What is it that you most recently said, man, that was awesome? And those are fine. We live in a world that God has given lots of material things to us, lots of wonderful relationships, love relationships, And it's okay to experience those things. That's why Jesus says, give to Caesar what's his. It's okay. It's fine. But give to God what's his. What is it that you've given to God? Your whole heart? All of your life? Your fear? Your pain? Your shame? Your guilt? Have you given it to him? Have you given all of yourself to him? Or are there parts you're holding back? Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. But give to God what belongs to him. He wants all of you. He doesn't want a relationship where we're just talking. If you're under 20, this is how you talk, by the way. With your thumbs. He doesn't want to date you. He doesn't want to just be engaged. He wants 100% commitment for the rest of your life. Because he's made that to you with all of his life. My prayer is, more than this world, more than, the next new shiny thing, iPhone 13 is coming out another month. More than all those things, that Jesus amazes you. You believe in God, believe also in me, is what he said. Now, here's the hard part. You might say, preacher, I want to believe, but life is hard. You don't know what I've been through. Some of you might be thinking, you don't know what sin I've lived in. God couldn't love me. He couldn't take me. Yeah. He's bigger than you think. He's bigger than I thought he was. You might be thinking, I can't really give my entire life to God, because this happened to me when I was a teenager, and I still can't forgive those people. I want to, but I'm still so angry for what they did to me. God is bigger than you think he is. Or maybe it's the brokenness of this world that you're facing today.